My name is Michelle Pichon, and thank you for coming to the fall read. Am I too tall?
Maybe.
Um, this is a presentation of the Language and Communication Department. We're glad to have all of y'all here. It's always exciting to see a packed room like this. You're in for a night of haunting and hunted literary readings by grown-ups and children alike. This is how things work here. For those of you who are reading, we just follow the program. We're going to go down the columns from top to bottom. So when you see the bottom name of the column, then we're going to move up to the top of the next column. All right? So I think we'll just go ahead and get things started. And since my name is on the program first, I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to read a poem called The Hag by Robert Herrick. The hag is astride this night for to ride, the devil and she together, through thick and through thin, now out and then in, though near so foul be the weather. A thorn on a burr she takes for a spur, with the lash of a bramble she rides now. Through brakes and through briars, o'er ditches and mires, she follows the spirit that guides now. No beast for his food dares now range the wood, but hushed in his lair he lies lurking, while mischiefs by these on land and on seas at noon of night are working. The storm will arise and trouble the skies this night, and more for the weather. The ghost from the tomb affrighted shall come, called out by the clap of the thunder.
I don't know if this is, I don't have to bend over, so I think I'll just read loudly. I don't usually dress this way, but I will be dressing this way for tomorrow. I have class, so of course. I want to read to you this book, Where the Deep Ones Are, by Kenneth Hite, and pictures by Andy Hopp. This is sort of a different version of Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Wings Are. And it's basically based upon the mythos of sort of turn of the century, 19th, 20th century, American writer H.P. Lovecraft, who invented the Cthulhu mythos. Basically, the sense of it was that Cthulhu, the tentacled god, was this alien who came and crash landed upon Earth. And when he did so, through a series of cataclysms, he and his friends near Nyarlathotep and Yog Sothoth got trapped at the bottom of the ocean in the temple, sort of palace. I can't pronounce these names correctly, but then you had to have an alien proboscis to say it correctly, and I lack that. But basically, this is, not yet. After I become assimilated by Cthulhu, then I would get one. I'm sorry that the pictures might be hard to see. When Bobby would yell for seconds on fish and thirds. That's him in his fish outfit. It could be a frog outfit, but it has tentacles too. His mother said his big mouth would give him brain fever, like his cousin Larry Marsh. And how would he like that? And Bobby said, just fine. And his mother sent him to his room without any fish at all. That very night, in Bobby's room, he heard water rushing, and it got louder and louder until it washed away his walls. And a river ran right through his room, carrying an old boat barely dried just for Bobby. And he sailed down the river under wooden bridges and past tumbled walls to Innsmouth. Innsmouth smelled a lot like fish. And it even had a fish on the church. And then Bobby tried to go there, and the old man told him, no, don't go there. That's where the deep ones are. That's my New England accent. You're all impressed. I've never been to New England, but you know. The deep ones never die. They came from the South Seas, and Captain Marsh took over the church. And they gave deep one gold to all the pretty girls in town and took them dancing under the ocean in a wild rumpus. And nobody ever saw the girls again. You can see the deep ones. I can't neglect to show you the deep ones. If we have any secret clandestine worshipers, please hold back the knives. Bobby said, "My cousin's name is Larry Marsh." And then the old man got scared and wouldn't talk to Bobby anymore. But Bobby still smelled fish, and he was still hungry. So he went to the hotel for dinner. The bread was bad, and the soup was bad, and the water was bad, and there was plenty of fish. Bobby ate so much that he got sleepy and slow. And then the deep ones came for him. Now here's why you help. As you know, in the wild things, there's a point where there are no words, and we have to supply the sounds that wild things make. So the deep ones croaked their terrible croaks. And smacked their terrible lips. And rolled their terrible eyes. What noise does that make? And waved their terrible flippers. Well, nicely done. Next time I teach 2070, this is going on the list. And Bobby ran out of the hotel and down the street, Elliott Street and Devil's Reef and Fall Street, and just when he thought he was lost for good, he found the river. Sorry, I turned pages. Bobby jumped in the old boat and sailed up the river and past tumbled walls and under wooden bridges and back into his very own room. But he was still hungry for fish. So Bobby thought he might go see his cousin Larry Marsh and find another old boat. And they would go and sail under the wooden bridges and past the tumbled walls and back down to Ismith. And the deep ones would call him the most deep one of all and crown him with deep one gold and make him king of all the deep ones. And they would dance with the pretty girls of Innsmouth and the ocean in a wild rumpus and never die. And he would eat all the fish he wanted and anything else too. Okay, now Audrey, my daughter Audrey, has written a song. Woo! Yes? This is... So, do you want to use the microphone? Say hello to the microphone. See how it sounds.
Hello.
Oh, it's pretty loud. Okay, now Audrey, this is your song. Can you do it alone? I mean, I'll stand here. Okay, can you do that? Okay, the song is called Cat Night. Audrey, what is Cat Night about?
It's about a party where cats go out on Halloween night, but it will only happen.
Speaking to the microphone.
But it will only happen if you see a cat on Halloween night. When you see a cat on Halloween night, it means that it's going to be cat night.
Okay, go ahead.
It's almost midnight, it's almost cat night, but in the morning, cat night goes away every single day. But if you see a cat at night, you know it's going to cat night.
Thank you, Audrey. All right.
Okay. How can I follow that? From a 1966 first edition of Book of Witches, from a series of all sorts of books of things. The foreword. There are good witches and bad witches, but the number of the bad witches is great, and the number of the good witches is small. And since the business of the good witches is mainly to undo the mischief made by the bad ones, their stories are not very interesting. In all the stories in this book, you will only find one mention of a good witch. And you will see that in the story, if the queen had done exactly what the good witch had bade her, there would not be much of a story. The bad witches are causing all the exciting things to happen. These bad witches are, of course, exceedingly powerful. They can fly through the air on broomsticks, or on stalks of ragwort, or even on old jars. They can raise tempests, they can cross the sea in stone boats, or kneading troughs or sieves. In their great cauldrons, they can brew magic potions that put spells on their enemies, and they can turn themselves and other people into pigs, or geese, or cats, or hares, or any other shape they fancy. In some fairy tales, too, there are wicked witch maidens who are surpassingly beautiful, and these maidens are perhaps the most dangerous witches of all. Anyone meeting with a humpy-backed old woman with a great hooked nose, little red eyes, huge leering mouth, and craggy chin might recognize such a creature for the witch she was, and so be on his guard. But if confronted with a sweet-voiced maiden of dazzling beauty, who would suspect such evil? You have to be a very sharp fellow to recognize the real nature of these fascinating and seemingly innocent damsels. Now, in all these stories, as in the fairy tales about witches in general, you may be sure of one thing. However terrible the witches may seem, whatever power they may have to lay spells on people and to work mischief, they are always defeated. So that at some point in the story, you may find the hero or heroine in utter distress. You need never really fear for them, because it is the absolute and very comforting rule of the fairy tale that the good and brave shall be rewarded, and that bad people shall come to a very bad end. And one more. That's my caution note. I didn't notice that. Something new and unquiet. Greater than the witching hour creak of a floorboard, rustle of cloth, scrape of a chair, stealthy snick of a sliding door, careful, measured steps, and the unsilent, almost sound of non-breathing from someone not there, is the fear of hearing nothing at all, in the immense noise of everything and everybody, and particularly somebody.
I must say, ladies, I'm not sure whether I like the purse or the skirt better, but I'm wearing this tomorrow and maybe Thursday as well. All right, I am in costume for a reason. I'm reading a Scottish folk tale. They're collected in the early 19th century, so there's some words that I'll need to point out for you, as you may not be familiar with them. One you'll hear me say is, I'll say, bride souls, and those are broad feet. And I'll say, muckle knees. And the muckle knees, muckle means great or very big. Later I'll say muckle gangen. And muckle of course meaning great, but or a great deal. And gangen comes from Old English. It's actually the way if you've read Beowulf in the original Old English, which you all should do. Gangen is actually the word that's used to describe the way that Grendel, the beast, the monster, walks as he stalks at night around the mead hall before he slaughters everybody. Okay, so apparently you can't hear me, so I'll just talk closer to the microphone. All right, so the tale is The Strange Visitor. Oh, yeah, there's one more thing. In the second part, there'll be a repetition of "I late and we maul," and nobody really knows what that means. The people who are collecting these stories, they're oral tradition stories, and nobody can really decide for sure what it means. But "I late," it's kind of consensus. It means it's late, and "we" is of course means small in Scottish, right? And "maul" is connected to the word for mouth, and so it seems to me